Welcome back, everybody. It's time for another edition of Silver and Black today, an Odyssey Sports original podcast right on the radio in Las Vegas, 101.5 KDON and 840 KXNT. Thanks for being back with us. We appreciate it. We ask you a favor. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your audio. Don't forget to rate and review. Also, if you're watching us on video, hit that thumbs up and don't forget, subscribe and hit the notifications bell so you know every time we have a new video. We're talking to you on Tuesday. Hope you enjoyed your Victory Monday. By the way, some of you expressed your feelings after the game Sunday. You weren't exactly disappointed in the win, but you weren't happy with the win. We'll get into that a little bit. Mo Moten is on assignment, not here with us today, but I am here with you, Scott Branson, your host. You can follow me on X at LV Gully. The show is SNB Today. We appreciate you being back. The Raiders, of course, coming off the win against the Tennessee Titans, 20-10. And guess what? Brian Callahan, former Raiders coach, fired Monday, not surprised, fired Monday by the Tennessee Titans. So the Raider victory and the putrid performance by the Tennessee Titans got Mr. Callahan fired. Yes. And it was hard. I said during the game, the Titans offense. Now, remember who called their offensive plays? Bo Hardigree, a name you're familiar with, but the coaching in Tennessee was lacking, and they really struggled. And Brian Callahan now gone from coaching in the NFL, at least for now. But I want to get into the game again and talk a little bit about what we talked about in the postgame with Murph and I. But this really was a full victory for the Raiders, 20-10, as I mentioned. The Titans' offensive output, only 10 points, 65 rushing yards. And this Raiders defense, they deserve credit. Yes, Tennessee was not good, but whoever you play on your schedule, who's in front of you is who you play and who you have to beat. So the Raiders took care of business at home. It's a glimmer of hope. Is it a lot of hope going into Kansas City on Sunday? I wouldn't exactly call it that. We'll find out how much progress the Raiders have made over the past couple weeks when they head to Arrowhead to face the hated Kansas City Chiefs. But that defense held Tennessee to 3 of 13 on third down. That's a big deal. I thought that the defense came out well. Devin White, of course, Max Crosby. The defensive backs were not challenged significantly during this game. You had Calvin Ridley went out early in the first half with a hamstring injury. So the best weapon, really the only weapon, I believe, that's dangerous that the Titans had was out early. So that also benefited the Raiders. But again, situations are situations. You take advantage of them. The Raiders could have lost this game. They didn't. There were times when I thought maybe Tennessee was climbing back into it, but they could just never put it together at all. The Raiders recorded a season-high 6 sacks. That's right. Tied for the most quarterback sacks. Titans rookie Cam Ward has taken in a game, by the way. 9 different Raiders recorded a quarterback pressure, and the defense pressured Ward on almost 37% of his dropbacks, which is a season high for the Raiders. And of course, the big deal here, and Pete Carroll talked about it in his post-game presser, and that was turnovers. We all know in the NFL, if you're going to be successful, if you're going to go win games and keep yourself in games, you got to get turnovers. The Raiders had 3 total takeaways, winning the turnover battle for the first time since week 3. And that really was a big deal because they were able to take some of the pressure off that beleaguered offense in Gino Smith, right? Setting you up inside the 3-yard line, setting you up in better field position. This is really what Pete Carroll has done throughout his career too, is played the field position and possession game. And so the Raiders did that well. If it was according to plan, I thought the Raiders, while not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, I thought they came out and looked like they had a better plan this week than I've seen since week 1. And so to me, that's a big deal. But the win was sealed by the defense too, of course, at the end of the game when Thomas Booker strip sack of Cam Ward with 46 seconds left in the quarter. The game was over. Even if the Titans had scored, there was little chance that they were going to score enough to erase the deficit and beat the Raiders. So that is what it is. But I will tell you, when you look at the winners in this game, I mean, I had somebody in our YouTube comments, and maybe you're watching now, tell me, oh, Devin White didn't do that good. And listen, is every linebacker perfect? Is every player perfect in every game? No. Do they miss tackles? Sure. that doesn't negate what he did. I mean, let's look at this. Devin White, team high 9 tackles, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble was a strip sack, and an interception. I mean, how do you not think that that was a good game? Yes, it's about consistency. We need to see this out of Devin White more. I'm not saying a game this big, but we need to see something out of this 27-year-old more frequently and more consistently. That's been the story for the Raiders. Consistency, a defense, offense, everything. So it was good to see that. Historical note, by the way, for those of you who want to argue with me that Devin White didn't have a very good game, he's the first Raiders player since Khalil Mack in 2016 and only the third since 1999 to record a sack, forced fumble, and interception in a single game. Of course, Max Crosby did that earlier this year as well. His strip sack led directly to an offensive touchdown. So he helped that offense. What I was making the point earlier about complementary football. We saw complementary football from the Raiders in this game, which is something, frankly, they haven't been very good at. But we saw them today. We saw the defense do well. I'm not counting some of the games. I'm counting early on the first 2 weeks of the season. We saw 3 weeks of the season. We saw the defense do that. The offense just couldn't come through, right? So now the defense took some pressure off that offense, and it seemed to work, as well as the offense being, I think, looked like simplified, dumbed down, whatever you want to call it, for Gino Smith. And we'll talk about Gino Smith in the second segment. Also, the third segment, we're going to get to your phone calls. We got some phone calls to get to, you guys expressing your thoughts on the win against the Titans, and of course, about the big game coming up against the Kansas City Chiefs as well. Maxx Crosby, what did he do? Well, he did Maxx Crosby things, recorded 2 sacks, 2 tackles for a loss, 3 quarterback hits, and he led the team with 5 pressures, despite, as always, being teamed on almost every play. Now, Malcolm Koonce on the other side is a different story. Malcolm Koonce did not have a good game, did not really do anything in this game. So a lot of you who were rooting for Malcolm Koonce to come along this season just hasn't happened. It's not working right now at that other end position. Maybe he picks it up. I mean, again, we're going into week 7 now, and he's got to be able to pick it up a little bit to help that defensive unit out. Jonah Laulu, of course, continued 1 sack, 3 tackles. He's the first Raiders defensive tackle to record 4 sacks in 6 games since Bill Pickle in 1986. So Laulu continues to do a great job. And Patrick Graham, of course, his defense, I thought they did really well. If I was grading them on a school schedule, I'd give them an A-. Again, we didn't see the defensive backfield challenged at all because Tennessee just couldn't run their offense, and Cam Ward couldn't get the ball. There were a couple nice plays that they, of course, had, and we saw some miscues in the defensive backfield. Of course, Caillou Blue-Kelly was out there again. I thought Darian Porter was going to get more time, but he did not. So they are about to get a big test facing the Chiefs, who will have Xavier Worthy, who's back to who he is. And of course, they get Rashee Rice back from his suspension just in time to host the Raiders in Kansas City. So we saw the defense. They deserve all the credit in this game. There's no question about it. But we also have a situation where we'll get a better sense if this defense has put it together a little more. And what I was most impressed with was them coming out aggressive. They came out aggressive. They really set the tone for the game early on, and that really carried the Raiders throughout this contest. And to me, that's a big deal. They got to do it against Kansas City. All of these players, you got to have Malcolm Koonce just play up to the competition, and Maxx Crosby has got to do what he's got to do. The rest of the guys have to do it. I want to see Devin White again, Landon Roberts. All those guys really need to pick up game. This is a big rivalry game, as always. You don't need extra preparation or extra motivation if you're a player in the silver and black to take on the hated Kansas City Chiefs, right? So we'll see how it all goes with that and what they're able to do when it comes down to it. Because the point that I made in the post-game show, and you guys all heard it, was it's about not only the consistency, but progress. I thought there was progress in this game, progress on defense, some progress on offense, which we'll get to again in the next segment. But that's the important thing, win or lose. Now, of course, I know you all want the Raiders to win, but if they go into Kansas City, don't win, you just want to see progress. You don't want to see a blowout. You want to see the defense play as spirited and as swarming and as with much aggression as they had against lowly Tennessee. You want to see that against Mahomes and company and that Kansas City Chiefs offense, which is much, much better because you have the quarterback, first of all. And so they're going to have to do that. And Travis Kelce, he's not the Travis Kelce of old, had a nice game against Detroit, and he has a tradition of destroying the Raiders for the most part. The Raiders have not won in Kansas City, of course, since that Christmas game, that Christmas gift they gave all of you a few years back. So it's going to be a tough contest in Kansas City, but I think this Raiders team, they need to start stacking, as we call it, right? They need to start stacking performances. And so if the Raiders defense can come out and play like they did against Tennessee, win or lose, then you start to say, okay, they're starting to put it together a little bit here. They're starting to really coalesce around what their plan is, what the scheme is. Most of these guys have played in the scheme. For the younger players, you want to see them step up. Caillou Blue Kelly is going to have to play a really good game against the Chiefs. If he doesn't early, I could see them turning Darian Porter pretty quickly out of necessity, just because you're not going to be able to get way behind the Kansas City Chiefs. The way this Raiders offense has performed, you can't get way behind in a game and expect to come back. It's just not going to happen, especially with Geno Smith's troubles. So again, I think the defense is going to have to lead the way when it comes to this game against the Chiefs. And certainly what we saw in Tennessee is something that is positive, right? You got to build on the positives. For those of you, it's amazing. I had so many people, oh, don't be, oh, you're so negative. Why are you being so negative? Duh, blah. And then when Murph and I came on in the postgame, we were being positive. People were like, oh, you guys are whitewashing and you guys are blowing smoke. And blah. No, when a team plays well in a certain aspect of the game, give them credit. I'm always going to do that. When they play poorly, I'll point that out as well. Also, I want to mention before we get to the break here in a minute is the special teams unit. The special teams unit did well. After all the outages we saw in the last couple of weeks, the only blemish on their record against the Titans was in the opening drive with the field goal and the delay of game. That's the only one. But they had good coverages. There was no long returns. They didn't miss field goals. They didn't have punts blocked. And again, part of that was Michael Mayer coming back. We'll talk about him with the offense, but on special teams, if you remember the blocked field goal a few weeks ago against the Bears, listen, if he was there, a lot of people said they wouldn't have blocked the field goal. Well, Michael Mayer was there and proved his worth not only as a tight end, but also as a special teams contributor, and that was key. So hats off to the special teams. Again, improvement there. Now you got to see it against Kansas City. It's about stacking. It's about consistency. So we'll see if they can do that. But certainly, if you're sitting here and you're lamenting the Raiders winning, I don't know what to tell you, but I think, look, that might be the only game they're able to win out of the next 4. But they won it, right? They wanted to win a game at home. They needed to beat the opponent they should beat, and they did do that. They haven't done that in the past. So you got to like that and take away with it what you will. All right, we're going to take our first break. When we come back from this break, this is what we're going to do. We're going to get to the offensive side of things. We're going to talk about Gino Smith. We're going to talk about Ashton Genty, Michael Mayer, and the rest as this edition of Silver and Black Today, an Odyssey Sports original podcast, rolls on. You're with Scott. This is Silver and Black Today. Don't go anywhere. All right, everybody, it's time for me to tell you again about our good friends at Sleeper Picks. That's right, daily fantasy football, and they have a great offer just for you for the month of October. If you go download the app now, they're going to give you free $20. You don't even have to make a deposit. No matching. Just go sign up for Sleeper Picks, and then guess what? You're going to get $20 to play along with me. I'm going to give you my picks for Thursday night's game here in a second, but go ahead and do that. Sleeper Picks, free $20. Not only that, but if you deposit up to $100, they're going to match that up to $100 using the special code here from Silver and Black Today, and that's Genty. Use the code Genty, get that free $100 match on your deposit up to $100. All right, now I am going to get in here and show you my picks for Thursday. We'll do most picks on the Thursday show, but I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh and Cincinnati game, of course, coming up on Thursday, and the Bengals still reeling. Yeah, they got Joe Flacco, big deal, but they are not doing too well. So if you look at this, let me get into a bigger screen here so you can see. Oh, there we go. So you look at Sleeper Picks, and the thing I love about Sleeper Picks is you're not going to find an app out there with daily fantasy football that gives you better payouts or gives you a better experience. So let's go into the Pittsburgh game here in Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase came on strong, even with Joe Flacco was just phenomenal as always. Best receiver in football, I believe. I'm going Jamar Chase with a one anytime touchdown. So it's over half there as well. The other Bengal I'm going to pick here is Chase Brown. Will he have a touchdown? I'm going to say no against the Steelers. Okay, so I'm actually betting against him there at that. And then for the Steelers, DK Metcalf looks at home there in Pittsburgh finally. Is he going to get a touchdown against the Bengals? I say yeah. That Bengals defense does not impress me at all. So you look at my picks for Thursday's game. Jamar Chase, 1 touchdown. Chase Brown, no touchdowns. DK Metcalf with a touchdown as well. You put $20 on that playing daily fantasy football, you're going to make $88.20. And guess what? You can go put 20 for nothing because the new promotion, $20. As soon as you sign up for the app, the Sleeper Picks app, you're going to get that $20. And then if you deposit up to $100, they're going to match that $100 by using the code GENTY. That's our special code here. You can only get it here. Make sure you use the code GENTY, get that $100 match. Come play Sleeper Picks with me. Rules and regulations apply. You can check them all out inside the Sleeper app. Rules and regulations differ by states, and it's not available in all states. But come play with me on Sleeper Picks, daily fantasy football. Go get it, baby. All right, everybody. Welcome back to Silver and Black today, an Odyssey Sports original podcast. Scott Calkins, your host. Mo is on assignment today, so we are talking Raiders football. I want to get into the offense now and talk about what we saw out of the offense because there's still a lot of trouble there. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm just not. Gino Smith, let's look at his numbers: 17 of 23 passing, 174 yards, a touchdown, and his 10th interception. If you remember late in the game, it was a bad interception. In the press conference, I don't like that I still hear excuses from Pete Carroll and Geno Smith about the performance, saying he was hit. Look, he threw the ball into pressure, saying he was trying to throw it out of bounds. It got caught up. Okay, whatever, but you're still throwing under pressure. At his level, with as many years as he has, he's 35 years old. With as many years as he has in the NFL, there's no reason why that interception should have been thrown, especially when you have the lead and all you got to do is either throw it out or take the sack. Who cares? At that point, you had the win. I would have been running the ball instead, but for whatever reason, Chip Kelly in the offense, maybe Geno checked out of a run into a pass. I don't know. We never got that explanation. But Geno Smith continues to struggle. He was sacked twice. He was hit 7 times and probably should have taken 4 sacks, but he was able to get out of it. The offense, not a big offensive day, 226 yards. They just played a team with a defense that has a pretty good front, but other than that, not so good. And also, the Titans offense couldn't do anything. So the Raiders benefited from that, but not exactly a banner day if you're a fan of the Raiders offense. The offensive line again struggled. There's just no way other way to put it. It was, again, an issue. They struggled mightily in pass protection, giving up 7 hits, as I mentioned, on Smith. The run game only averaged 2.1 yards per rush. It's just not acceptable. It's not going to get it done against the Chiefs, I can tell you that. On 32 carries, 68 yards for Ashton Jeanty, who did what he could with what he had. You put him in space. We saw what he did. I would like to see the Raiders, again, continue to use a wheel route and the screens to him. Also, you saw as they ran wide with him outside, you put Ashton Jeanty one-on-one against a defensive back or even a linebacker. He's going to win those most of the time. So they need to do that. That's something to consider for the offense. Chip Kelly did adjust the offense. I know a lot of you are down on him, but he had questionable red zone calls again. Again, the Raiders' red zone offense, better in spots, still woefully inadequate for a team that's looking to bounce back, put it together, and win some games. So he deserved, I think, a fair share of criticism, especially things like you're in the red zone and you throw, in essence, a tackle-eligible pass to Alex Kappa, who's not athletic at all other than being a lineman, and even at that, he's not very good. So a lot of you commented to me during the game on that. What is Chip Kelly thinking? He was getting a little too cutesy there, but in the red zone, when you're struggling in the red zone, I get you're trying to do things a little bit different, but I thought that was much a bridge too far. We look at the bright spots on offense, everybody. You got to look at Michael Mayer. Okay, Michael Mayer, his numbers here: 5 passes, 50 yards, and his first touchdown since December of 2023. Of course, he missed a bunch of games last year due to some personal issues, and then he missed 2 games this year with the concussion Of course, not his fault there, but it was good to see him get off the schneid and get that. And I think you saw how important he was. I talked about special teams earlier with Michael Mayer, how much he contributes there. But when you look at offensively, especially without Brock Bowers in the game, you see why Michael Mayer was a sought after tight end in the draft when the Raiders selected him in the second round. And he is a guy, he's a number one tight end on most teams. So the fact that they had him was huge. Without him on Sunday, I'm not sure what would have happened. Trey Tucker, of course, also had a good game, led the team in receiving with 5 catches for 70 yards. He continues to hum. They need to figure out ways to get him more involved. My criticism of Geno Smith again, too, Trey Tucker, Jack Besh, Jacoby Myers, they were open several times, and let's face it, Geno didn't see him. Just didn't see him. This has been an ongoing issue for Geno Smith in the 2025 season. So you got to figure that all that receiving core could be doing more, and they needed to be doing more. So Geno Smith, in my view, has to take a massive step up against the Chiefs. You can't call that vanilla offense that they did against the Titans against the Chiefs and expect to win. So I expect that to happen, and we'll see what he does. On the defensive play side of the ball, we talked about all the people who shine. Who struggled? Isaiah Palomalo struggled again. He's struggled since week 1. I know he's kind of a fan favorite out there, has been for a while, but he gave up the Titans' lone touchdown, and he missed about 3 tackles that I counted, maybe 2. Malcolm Kuntz, I mentioned him earlier, and he just didn't impact the pass rush. He didn't help. He was not a help. You had some pressure from the inside, of course, and you had the pressure from the outside from Max Crosby, and then, of course, the linebacking core, Devin White, coming up and filling that gap too. But he recorded no tackles and just 1 quarterback hit, playing all those snaps. So Malcolm Kuntz not looking good right now. What do the Raiders have on the other side to replace him? Not much. That's the problem with a team that has no depth. So Malcolm Kuntz, you got to root for him to get better as well. But now I talk about all this because I think, as I mentioned in the first segment, the defense has to come out as fired up and as aggressive and as solid as they did against Tennessee, but against Kansas City, the defending AFC champions. They have to. If this team is going to have any chance against that Chiefs team, they've got to play exactly like that. They have to create turnovers. Again, got to win the turnover battle against Kansas City. If the Raiders don't win the turnover battle, they will not have a chance to win the game. So they got to continue to focus on that and do that. They've done it in the past with Patrick Mahomes. They've been able to get turnovers from Patrick Mahomes. Got to do it again. That's why I'm worried about the defensive backfield here, because I'm not sure that those guys can do that against a top flight NFL offense. I wrote the Chiefs off after week 2. I was wrong. And they're at home in this game, coming off a win, of course, on Sunday night against Detroit. It was a close one for a while there, but nonetheless, the Chiefs are going to have to do that. What else? The Raiders also need to be sharper on offense. We talked about this, right? If you're going to go into Kansas City and win, 220 yards isn't going to do it on offense. You have to unleash Genty in every possible way. That's both running the ball and passing to him. You have to get Michael Mayer involved. Brock Bowers will be out once again. You have to come. Chip Kelly's got a huge, huge task when it comes to game planning for this Kansas City Chiefs game on Sunday. So we're going to see what they're able to do. But I will tell you that what we've seen from them specifically on offense so far this season ain't going to cut it against the Chiefs. Just not going to. If they play like they did against the Patriots, okay, then we're talking about an offense that's got a lot of open looks. It's got Geno with a high completion percentage, and he's not turning the ball over, okay? That's what they have to do as well. And the defensive unit, as I mentioned, cannot revert back to their struggles from week 5. If they do, it could be a blowout. I hate to say that. And what the Raiders need the least is a blowout. Look, if they lose a close game to the Chiefs, that's okay. It's progress. And I keep going back to that word. You guys are going to get sick of me using it. But progress, stacking progress, game by game. And as fans, I get it. You want to win, especially against the Chiefs. Some of you out there are rooting for I wouldn't say rooting. You don't mind if the Raiders lose because you want that high draft pick next year, even though we're only in week 7. But you have to go out there and continue to gain confidence. That's what that Titans win does. Yes, it was a bad team they played. Doesn't matter. If you went out and lost that game, imagine the discussions we'd be having today. Imagine how that locker room would be. That locker room, that coaching staff, they needed what happened against the Titans. They had to have a confidence builder, and that's what they had. So there's nothing wrong with that. And as a Raider fan, I think you should be happy that they were able to put that together like they were. So these are the keys to that game. And we're going to get into the Chiefs a lot deeper when Mo and I are back on Thursday, and our guest Carrington Harrison from Kansas City. He's a part of our Odyssey team on the radio there. Also, he is a host on SiriusXM as well, covering the NFL. Carrington's a great dude, knows the Chiefs better than anybody. We'll get the inside scoop on where they're at, and we'll break down some key matchups. We're going to get down specifics, Mo and I, on players and matchups that you got to watch going into that game. It's a tall task. There's no other way to put it. Anything can happen. Am I sitting there and saying, well, they're going to go to Kansas City and lose? I don't. I picked them to win against the Titans. I know, big stretch, right? But this Chiefs game, while I won't pick them to win, I can tell you that right now, they could win it. They could. If they put that offense together, it looks like week one. And if the defense plays like they did against Tennessee, I get it. They're not playing Tennessee. They're playing Kansas City. But to me, if they can do that, then they will be in good shape and things might come together for them. It could be a massive turning point for their season to stack 2 wins in a row, especially to go into Kansas City, a hated division rival and a really tough place to play, and come out of there with the win. So Pete Carroll and his team, they got a week to prepare, and we'll see how they do, but it's certainly something that they can do. I'm not ruling it out. I don't think it'll happen, but I'm not going to say that they have no chance, because I believe that they do. All right, we're going to take our final break here on this Tuesday edition of Silver and Black Today, an Odyssey Sports Original podcast. When we come back, we get right to the Raider Nation switchboard to your calls. We're going to see what you guys have to say next on the show. This is Scott. This is Silver and Black Today. We're coming back right after this. Welcome back to the home stretch, the final segment of this edition of Silver and Black Today, an Odyssey Sports Original podcast. Do us a favor, subscribe to the audio podcast. Even you YouTube guys, Rumble, wherever you're watching us, I appreciate you watching us, but just do us a favor. It helps us significantly, like ratings. You know, the more downloads we get, the higher rated our show is. We're already highly rated inside the Odyssey Network, but we need your help. So make sure you go and just sign up for it. Even if you never listen to it, do it. Or you can listen to the show multiple times because it's that good. Just kidding. But go ahead. Do it wherever you get your audio. And don't forget to rate and review as well. Let people know what you think of Silver and Black Today. Scott Branson back with you. Momo's on assignment today. We are going to take your phone calls now. And I got to tell you, we are having so much fun, Murph and I, on the post-game shows. If you haven't joined us for the post-game shows, what we've been doing the last couple weeks is what we call video drop-ins. So like you call in here, we're about to get some calls. Like you call into the show, you actually come in live on video with us, like a Zoom call, basically. You come in with us and we take your questions, and we've had a bunch of guys come in over the last couple of weeks. We want you to do that too. So when you watch the post-game show live, specifically on YouTube or Rumble, Facebook as well, you can see I post the link. All you do is click on that link and you get in the queue. It's like calling in and waiting on hold, and then we'll get you on the show live so you can give us your reaction to the football game. So that's our video drop-ins on the post-game show. So make sure you do that. And of course, we do the post-game show right after each Raiders game. So make sure you tune into that. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, the Rumble channel. If you already like us on Facebook, great. It's also broadcast on X, but obviously on X, I can't post the link there. But the other channels, the more traditional video channels, you get it there. So make sure you join it as well. All right, we're going to get right to these calls. I got to tell you that I was surprised how many people were disappointed that the Raiders won. I don't know. I think some people get into a negative spiral and they don't want to come out of it. They rather just say, oh, let's win 1 or 2 games and let's get the top 1 or 2 draft picks in the 2026 draft. But man, it's only week 7. I get that. I get the thought there because the Raiders do need to rebuild the right way. We talked about that extensively on the postgame show too. but it's still your team. So I'm kind of surprised by that. I look, I'm not criticizing you for it. I know some people have that and they're not going to change their mind, and that's cool. You fan the way you fan. But I know for me, it's much nicer to talk about a win than it is a loss and have everybody grumpy and angry and ready to throw their TV through the wall. So, but anyway, we're gonna get to the calls. We'll see what we get. I bet you we get a mixed bag with the calls here, right? Of people who are looking at it both ways. And I get that. Again, understandable. We want the Raiders to move on. By the way, something to keep track of. If you want the Raiders to only win 2 or 3 games so that they're at the top of the draft, clearly the Tennessee Titans are going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL. They might be the worst. Well, the Jets are worse. They're 0-5. So the Jets and Titans maybe going to finish 1 and 2 either way. What's good about that is the Jets, not good, is that they need a quarterback. So if you're thinking about the Raiders taking quarterback at the top of the draft in 2026, Jets are competition. The Titans would not be. And if the Titans are first or second, the Raiders, let's say the Raiders finish anywhere from 4th to 8th in the first round of the draft. Then you have a trade partner because Tennessee does not need a quarterback. They have Cam Ward. They're committed to Cam Ward. So that allows the Raiders or another team to trade up into that 1 or 2 spot if that's where they finish. So that benefits the Raiders as well. Something to keep an eye on as you look towards the draft for those of you who are already looking towards the draft. So we'll see. All right, let's get into these phone calls. First, guy we haven't heard from in several weeks. I was concerned that maybe he got rounded up and thrown away with the lock and key, but no, he's back. And that's our good buddy Jacob from Fresno. Here's Jacob.
Got go, Bronstein, and many down Mo Moulton. This is Jacob from Fresno. What's up, guys? Victory. Victory. We finally have a victory. The second one of the year. And my observation of this season is I don't think we're going to have far too many more. But here's why I'm not upset about that so much. I think that this year, as you know, we're definitely not going to the playoffs. Let's be realistic. I think that after maybe like the first 4 games of the season, unless there's some, like you're getting a big player back or you get to be able to make some big football move that we're not going to be able to make. We're not going to make some great trade, change our team. That's just not going to happen. So looking at the season realistically, I think that 6 wins is reasonable, that we could look at something like that. But the NFL is so stacked with talent where you go to some of the worst quarterbacks in the league were the greatest athletes in their hometown. That's just what we're dealing with. That's the nature of the beast here. So what I have to say about this is look at the great players that are on this team. Max Crosby, clearly. Ashton Jeffy seems to be coming along. The offensive line still needs a lot of work, clearly. Gino Smith, I think, is a good to great quarterback. The guy is top 15, top 10. That's what you need to win the league. And I think that we have so many great players. Devin White, he's coming into his own. You know, had the forced fumble, had the pick, just great plays, great defense all day. And we're stacking a good roster. But I think what we need, guys, is just to temper the expectations, Raider Nation, and recognize that you build a winning culture when you have consistency. This is the first year of the Pete regime, and we just need to be patient. And I know Raider Nation hates that word, but guys, we have to be. So, guys, my question to you is for the guys out there who don't want to be patient, that want to win now, do you see any possible way where that happens? Do you see any move that we could make? I'm going to run out of time, but that's my question for the day. What could we do to get more than 6 wins this year? Appreciate you guys. Go Raiders.
All right, there's Jacob in Fresno with a really positive look on things. I think maybe a little over positive. I picked them to pick 8 wins early on, and that was, of course, preseason. I don't think that they win 6. Or maybe if they get on a nice run, they could maybe hit 6. I just don't see it happening. And playoffs, no. To quote Jim Moore, playoffs, yeah, no. In fact, mark this time. If the Raiders make the playoffs, I will shave my head. I will shave my head on the show if the Raiders make the playoffs. There you go. Now, 6 wins, I don't think so. I'm thinking 4, maybe 5. Mo originally said 7 wins, but I'm thinking 4 is sort of a 5 is ceiling when you look at the schedule and how it gets starting this week before the bye with Kansas City. So, Jacob, I get that, but what can they do now? I don't think there's much they can do. What they can do is what I talked about earlier in the show. Stack progress, get better with what you have. There are holes that you can't fill right now. You just can't, whether they were bad moves or they just had holes going in the offensive line, for example. You have 2 young players there, but the coaching staff feels they're not ready because they don't see Grant doesn't see the field. So if they do turn to those young guys, for example, if they lose the next 2 or 3 and they start to say, okay, now we're at 7, 8 losses already halfway through the season, then what you want to see is you just want to see those young guys get in there and develop so that by the time you get to next season, you have good evaluation of your young talent. And then you decide, you say, hey, this Grant kid did really well. And so we don't need to draft that position tackle, but we still need to draft another guard, whatever it may be, and a center, whatever it is. So to me, that's what you have to do. You have to evaluate. So I know, to your point about patience, Raider fans are tired of patience. They've been waiting 30 years. At the same time, you can't do it in one fell swoop. There's no quick fix. The reason the Raiders are in the crap hole that they're in is because of constant quick fixes. They have to. Murph and I talked about this on the postgame. You have to build it the right way. Now, the draft picks this year from John Spytek, his first class, we see a lot of contribution already. Now, Jack Besh doesn't get the ball a lot, but he's out there. Of course, Ashton Genty is out there. And then on the defensive side of the ball, you're seeing that as well. So to me, there is young talent. Dante Thornton, unfortunately, he's fallen back and was on the sideline against the Titans. Just couldn't break. Jack Besh got his snaps. So, may the best man win. Whoever it is who it is. But I think that you're not going to get an easy fix here. But what you got to see is what you have. What can the players already on the roster do? And how do you put them in the position to be successful and show you what they can do? And that goes back to coaching too. A lot of coaching issues here too, right? You got to be able to get the guys in there and you have to be able to see what they have. So Jacob, thanks, man. I appreciate the call. All right, here's our next caller.
Hey, Scott. No, it's Bill from 757 in Virginia, bringing my football PTSD with me. Okay, looks like we got a dub. I'm glad we got a dub. I'm glad we won in Allegiant Stadium. I think for the first time this season. Okay, but I saw some improvements. Some. Okay. And that's good. We want to see improvements. That's good. I hope we keep improving throughout the whole season. But the honest answer to this is the Titans really beat themselves. They played an inexcusably bad football game in Allegiant Stadium tonight, and that is part of what happened. Now, if we go to Kansas City playing like we did tonight, we may not get a dub, and possibly not against the Jacksonville Jaguars at home as well, because they've been playing pretty well. So we got to keep improving. We got to keep improving if we want to think that we're going to get 5 wins this whole season. We got 2 of them so far. Okay. Well, I can't wait to see or hear your guys' take on the Raiders' performance tonight, and hear what you have to say about it. I really would like to know that. Okay. Thanks for all you do, and I'm out. Bye.
All right, Bill down in Virginia. Thanks, man. We appreciate you calling in as always. And look, right after the game, I called the game. I said, watching that game was like watching 2 drunk guys fight, right? Just stammering around, especially offensively. Now, the Raiders defense stood out. Of course, that was different. But the 2 offenses were so bad. And so I get what you're saying. Yeah, they beat a bad team. I mean, the coach got fired after the game. Well, Monday, but still after the game. So clearly they were terrible. But as I said, imagine if the Raiders would have somehow lost that game. How bad would you be feeling right now? And far from your goal would you be feeling if they had lost? So again, like you said, I think you captured it perfectly. You saw little bits of progress and improvement, especially defensively. Offensively, you could say yes. If Gino Smith wouldn't have thrown that interception late in the game, then that would have been a little more progress, but he still turned the ball over. Okay. And you never know when you turn the ball over like that, what that leads to. So I agree with you, Bill, and it's good to see the progress. Now they got to go to Kansas City against a much better team, and we'll be able to gauge what they've been working on in practice. What have they done to get much better? Again, win or lose. I know, again, Raider Nation, most Raider fans want their team to win. But if I go out and I watch this game and I see the Raiders give the Chiefs all they got and they just lose because of a play here or a score here, okay, that'll tell me they hung with a better team in the NFL because the Chiefs are getting back to where they need to. And again, Rashee Rice is back. Their offense is starting to click a little more than it did, and their defense did pretty well against the Lions, who are struggling on defense as well, but they're still doing pretty well on offense. So there you go. So we'll see. But you're right, a big test coming up, followed by Jacksonville after the bye, which is another huge test because Jacksonville's pretty good. All right, now we're going out to Raider Eddie. Here's Raider Eddie.
Hey, what's up, Scott and Mo? This is Raider Eddie in Denver. Love your guys' show. Love the objectivity of this show. And you guys are not afraid to criticize the Raiders, which is not like every single producer of Raiders media out there. Guys, I want to just chime in on what I saw in yesterday's game, Raiders versus the very lowly Titans. Guys, we were very close to losing that game. We were very close to a complete disaster there. I'm just going to talk first about, I think this was I don't know if this is our first or second field goal of the game, but we had to delay a game, and a 45-yard field goal attempt became a 50-yard field goal attempt. I think that was the first field goal attempt of the game for us.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, if we miss that, we drive all the way down the field. If we miss that early in the game, that is incredibly deflating. And I thought that was a huge error averted, and then we had Gino Smith on a play that it was a throwaway, I guess it was, but originally it was called a fumble and it was returned for a touchdown.
Yep.
Gino's very lucky that call was overturned. I know they made the right call, but Gino's about 0.3 of a second on that play from actually fumbling that ball and giving the Titans a touchdown that would have completely changed this game. And I think we would have lost this game because that's just how bad our offense is, you guys. I'm ready for us to start playing Grant at offensive tackle. I'm ready for the other guard to come in that we drafted in the 3rd round. I'm ready to see Jack Besh out there. If this coaching staff isn't going to play the young guys, I don't know what we're doing. And I'll even say this, you guys. I like Chris Collier from the practice squad. I think as a running back, I think he might be able to give us more than what we're getting out of Mostert right now. Mostert's in his 30s. He's not going to be around long. We need to move on from him. I like Chris Collier. He's physical. He's fast. I think he's faster than Genty if I just from the eye test. I like the way he carries the ball. I also like there's a defensive end that we had, undrafted kid, that was showing a lot of promise in the preseason. I don't know if he's on our practice squad or not. Can't remember the kid's name, but showed a lot of promise early on. We chose to not keep him. Those, to me, are the kinds of players we need to start keeping and playing and start playing for the future. Guys, I love the show. Raider Eddie in Denver out.
Raider Eddie in enemy territory up with the Donkeys in Denver. Thanks for the call, man. And a couple things. Jack Besh did play a lot, actually. So he's out there, just not getting him the ball. And your point about the running backs, look, I'm going to defend Raheem Mostert here. I think he is the better number 2 guy for the Raiders right now. Look at the offensive. Look at Ashton Genty. As well as he runs, he can't even get through at times, right? If he could have, he probably would have had over 100 yards in the game again, rushing. But it's really the offensive line, Eddie, that's the issue, not the running backs. I believe. You could disagree with me, but that's what I think. And yes, moments in that game, specifically the Geno Smith incompletion, which there's a call because we always hear a lot from you guys when the Raiders don't get calls. They got the right call there. And look, in the NFL today, with review even, calls can go any way. you would think with review they would see the call, but we've seen plenty of those. We saw a lot of them Sunday as well. And that call was called correctly. And you're right, though. If that's 7-0 Titans, and who knows what happens. Now, the defense hadn't hit the field, or I should say the defense hit the field and was really strong. That would have been a defensive touchdown for Tennessee. If they don't score again, then the Raiders still might have pulled out this game. But yes, every game is that way, the ebb and flow, back and forth, specific moments where a call goes your way, or a play goes your way, or the other team makes a key mistake. That's what happens, especially when you're playing bad football teams. So I get what you're saying, but I think if you look at every NFL game, the early games on that day I watched, and they were all close to the end, and literally all of them could have been changed by one play like you're talking about. So I wouldn't put too much stock in that, but I do think that the Raiders need to come out stronger, especially on offense. There's just no doubt about it. And you talked about red zone, you talk about the issue with the field goal. Yes, you're coming down that opening drive where you look really, really good again, and then you get the penalty, backs up your field goal. Now, luckily, you got a good field goal kicker in Daniel Carlson who nailed it. But you're right, 5 yards here and there can make a big difference in a game. So I hear you on that one. So thanks for calling in, Eddie. Do it again. We appreciate you. Make sure you drop in on video during the postgame show when you get a chance. Okay, now we go out to Chicago, the place of my birth, and our good friend, longtime caller, MVP caller, Terrick.
What is up, Scott and Mo? This is Terrick checking in with you guys from Chi-Town. Just watched the Raiders win 2010 over the Titans. I'm trying to contain my excitement. Let's not get too excited. I think that was a pretty poor performance against an extremely mediocre opponent. I think if that was even an average opponent, I mentioned to Scott earlier that I think we would have gotten our doors kicked in. Our red zone, I don't know what it is about the red zone. I think we're allergic to the red zone. The offensive play calling and the production in the red zone it's still alarmingly bad, and it doesn't look like it's going to be any better anytime soon. I don't know why they keep pulling Genty, and I don't know. It just continues to plague us. And as you said recently, Mo, it's been an issue for the past several years. Kudos to Gino Smith, his 10th interception of the year. At this rate, he will hit for at least 30. I think the defense played pretty well, but again, let's remember who the opponent was. The Titans can't run, they can't block, they can't pass. So we made plays, and we definitely helped our offense. But again, our offense was concerning. The inability to just make anything consistently positive. I think you see Geno Smith, you can see his hesitation. He's really tentative to throw the ball down the field now. I still think his confidence is completely shot. But again, it is nice to get a win. It always feels good to get a win, but I'm going to make an extremely bold prediction, you guys. Scott, as I told you, my bold prediction is that the Raiders do not win another game again until November 23rd when they host the Cleveland Browns. I think at that point we will be 2-8. We're not going to beat Kansas City. I don't see us beating Jacksonville. I don't see us beating Denver, and I don't see us beating Dallas. So let me know what you guys think. Hope you have a great week. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.
All right, there's Terrick, who's not exactly excited about the next 4 weeks for the Raiders. And I get you, because I think the one outlier there is Dallas. If the Raiders defense is playing well, I think they can beat Dallas. I think they can beat any of these teams. Frankly, it's the NFL. It's crazy how things go down in the NFL now. But statistically, I think you're right. But I think Dallas is the one outlier right there, because Dallas is not. I mean, they just lost to Carolina. So we'll see on that one. I mean, I just, and what you're saying about Geno Smith, absolutely. And the red zone issues, I'm sick and tired after 8 years of covering the Raiders, watching poor offensive play calling in the red zone. And I'm not railing on Chip Kelly, because I thought Chip Kelly did other things really, really well. But whatever it is, get in the red zone, can't get it done. As my buddy Fabian says, it's a -4 every time you go there. Instead of 7, you're getting 3. And when you play better teams, that catches up with you really, really fast, as the Detroit Lions saw versus the Chiefs on Sunday night this week. So, yes, there's definitely an issue there, and I don't know what they're going to have to do. And what Chip Kelly is doing, he's got to do different. And it's not a pass to Alex Kappa. Holy crap. Pass to Alex Kappa. I can't. Those words should have never been spoken in the history of mankind. So they got to fix that. It's a long road. These next 4 weeks are really, really tough. So we'll see. But they might surprise you, my man. So hang in there. I know you got PTSD like everybody else with the Raiders over the last 30 years, but crazier things have happened. So Terrick, as always, thanks for the call. By the way, if you want to call into the show and be part of it, I should have done this at the beginning. 702-900-7869 is the number. 702-900-7869 to get on with the team here. By the way, our show on Thursday, we will get more into the Chiefs. We'll get you caught up on all the latest Raider news, any injury or roster news, as well as we will be joined by Carrington Harrison out of Kansas City. He will talk about the Chiefs coming up on Sunday. All right, we're going to close out the Raider Nation switchboard with our good buddy, and that is Yandog. Here he is.
Hey, Scott, Mo, Yandog. I just wanted to say that congratulations to Gino Smith for throwing this 10th interception, setting a record and not being pulled out by Pete Carroll. It's an embarrassment. And, wow, the Raiders got a big win over a powerhouse. Woo! Go, 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 Raiders. You're getting there, baby. Those Titans were tough. By the way, I think that the coach, Carroll, is either senile or he's on some kind of crack. He's not pulling Geno Smith out of the game with his 10th interception. Just because he had a relationship in Seattle with him doesn't mean that you come over here and then start that nonsense. It's just ridiculous. And kudos to Giante. He's looking good. He's a good future running back for us. But we need to put Pickett in there, just like Mo said. No, we just can't keep going on with this. This is ridiculous. I mean, this guy's going to set a record for interceptions. 10 interceptions. 10 in just a total of 6 games. It's ridiculous. So, not much to say. They get a win, so they get a win. So, let's see if they can string a few games together after that and get over 500. Maybe we'll have a little smile to my face and to my buddy Terrick's face. Okay, well, that's it. Yandog, over and out. Bye-bye.
Wow, Yandog. You kind of brought me down there, brother. And I didn't get any roof, roof at the end. He didn't bark at the end. Oh my gosh, what's going on? Hey, I get it. I understand it, the Geno Smith, but listen, Pete Carroll's not giving up on Geno Smith. It's going to take a really, really, really awful performance for them to yank him. And even then, I don't think they'd yank him as the starter. I think they would yank him in the game. If he goes out in Kansas City in the first half, throws 2 picks that result in 7, 14, 10 points, whatever it is, then I could see them turning to Pickett. But maybe even then he won't. I don't know about senile or crack. I think he is just set in his ways. And we saw this earlier in the season. He's not going to go. He believes that that even despite the interception bug that Geno Smith has, that he still gives them the better opportunity. Now, did he perform better against the Titans? Yes, but it was the Titans. And they dummied down the offense. There was nothing going downfield until I think it was the 4th quarter. He didn't throw a pass over 10 yards in the air. So that's a problem because you're limiting what your offense can do because you want to protect the quarterback who's playing like crap. I think that's bad management. Myself, I'm not a coach. I haven't coached in the NFL or college or high school. But that's just what I see. And you can find 20 other observers who cover the NFL who say the same thing. So, I think you're stuck with Geno Smith at least this year. If things don't get better with him and he continues to have these struggles, then he won't be back next year. Can he find it? You got to hope so. Gives the Raiders the best chance. If not, then yes, Kenny Pickett. We talked about it last week. Doesn't turn the ball over. I'm not saying he's a great quarterback. He's a 500 quarterback, but he doesn't turn the ball over. So if the turnovers continue to hurt the Raiders, this time it didn't really hurt him, to be frank. It just didn't. Didn't result in points, didn't do it. So if if he does it against the Chiefs and has a brutal game, then maybe Pete Carroll wakes up and says, okay, you know what? I got to do something different. Maybe he doesn't. I'd be prepared for both outcomes. Could be either or. So we'll see how it goes. But Yandog, man, cheer up, brother. Cheer up. You're above ground, you're breathing, and you got to bark at the end of your calls. We missed that. All right. Again, if you want to be part of the show next time, dial in 702 900 7869 is the number, and you can be part of our show. I want to thank you guys all for being with us here on Silver and Black today. Remind you also to subscribe to the show wherever you get your audio. Make sure you rate and review as well. If you're watching us on video, subscribe there, hit the thumbs up and the notification bell so you know when we have a new video. Remind you of the offer at Sleeper. You get $20 free. All you gotta do is download the app and you get a free, you don't have to make a deposit. You get $20 right off the bat just for signing up. And then if you do a deposit up to $100, they're going to match you up to $100 using the code GENTY. That's GENTY, just for watching or listening to Silver and Black today. Guys, thanks as always for being with us. Look forward to being back with Mo on Thursday. And we welcome in our guest, Carrington Harrison, talk about all about this Chiefs game and the latest Raiders news. For everybody here at Silver and Black today, including our producer, Mike Robier, for Mo Moten, I'm Scott Branson. This has been Silver and Black today. Everybody, have a great week. We'll talk to you on Thursday.